I once met someone who could burn your world down and still smirk. You're exaggerating. People who never apologize operate on a silent hierarchy. In their mind, someone must always be above, and it will never be you. Apologies flatten hierarchy. They create equality. And equality terrifies fragile egos. Here's the pattern, watch closely. Step 1, they hurt you. Step 2, you confront them. Step 3, they minimize. You're dramatic. It wasn't that serious. I was joking. And if you persist, they attack your character. Because if they admit fault, their internal narrative collapses. Some are insecure. Some are narcissistic. Some are emotionally underdeveloped. But all of them share one fear: losing dominance. So they do something darker than refusing sorry. They steal the definition of reality. They twist context. They edit timelines. They make you repeat the same conversation 10 times until you're exhausted and you start thinking, maybe I am the problem. That's how control is built. Not with fists, with confusion. In yesterday's video, I explained what happens when a nice person reaches the end of their patience and stops absorbing damage. If you missed it, it's waiting in the description or in the first pinned comment. Go later, after this. Because in this video, you will finally understand why certain people would rather poison the room than say, I was wrong. How their brain protects their ego. What phrases expose them, and what you must do so you don't become their permanent scapegoat. You'll see 4 masks they wear, and 1 sentence that breaks the dark spell. Now listen. You will watch this to the last second. No skipping, no scrolling. If you can't handle it right now, save the video and come back when you're ready. That's an order. An apology is vulnerability. And vulnerability feels like surrender to someone who confuses love with control. As always, close your eyes and focus with me. First, watch what they do the moment you corner them with something undeniable. Not an opinion, a fact. A screenshot, a date, a witness, something that should end the argument. They don't apologize. They reposition. Because for them, the goal was never truth. The goal was rank. Who stands above who after the smoke clears? Real example, simple, everyday. You lend someone money. They promise next week. Next week comes. You ask politely. They laugh and say, wow, you're really counting? Notice the move? They didn't answer the debt. They attacked your character, made you look petty for remembering. Now you're defending yourself and they're safe. That is the first mechanism, shame redirect. They throw shame at you so you stop asking for accountability. And it gets uglier in relationships. You catch them lying. Small lie, big lie, doesn't matter. You say, why did you lie? They stare, then they sigh like you're exhausting. I can't believe you don't trust me. See it? The lie disappears. The spotlight moves. Now you are the problem for noticing. And if you're a kind person, you start fixing what they broke. Here's the part people miss. This isn't always evil. Sometimes it's childhood conditioning. Sometimes they grew up in a home where admitting fault meant punishment, humiliation, rejection. So their nervous system learned apology equals danger. But listen, a reason is not an excuse. Because whether it's trauma or ego, the outcome is the same. You become the emotional trash can, and they stay clean. They'll use tiny phrases, almost invisible. It's not that deep. Why are you making a big deal? You always do this. Each one is a trap door. If you step on it, you fall into defending yourself instead of holding them responsible. And they need you to fall. Because if they ever say, "I was wrong," they lose their throne. And they can't survive equality. So first, they weaponize shame to bend you away from the truth. Want a quick test? State the fact once, then go silent. Don't explain, don't beg, just watch what they try next. If they can't apologize, they'll try to move you instead. Anger, guilt, laughter, anything to loosen your grip on reality. Second is where they stop acting innocent and start acting hurt. Second, they don't deny the event. They deny the meaning. They'll say, "Okay, fine, it happened, but it wasn't bad." Or worse, you're twisting it. Real life example. They cancel on you last minute. Again. You say, "You promised." They shrug. "Plans change. Why are you so needy?" Listen to that word, needy. One label, and suddenly you're ashamed for wanting basic respect. This is the second mechanism, redefinition. They rewrite the dictionary so they never have to be wrong. Betrayal becomes freedom. Disrespect becomes honesty. Neglect becomes being busy. And the scariest part? They say it calmly, because calm sounds like truth to tired people. They'll even sprinkle a tiny pseudo-apology, just enough to look human, not enough to repair anything. "I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you took it like that." See the trick? The apology is aimed at your feelings, not their actions. It's not accountability. It's a sedative. And if you push for a real "I was wrong," they do the performance. They get offended. They get wounded. They start listing everything they ever did for you, so you feel like a criminal for asking one simple question. Why didn't you own it? Sometimes I swear you can watch the switch flip in their eyes. Because ownership breaks the illusion that they are the good one. So what do? You don't argue definitions. You anchor reality with specifics. You said X at 9:12. You did Y in front of Z. You promised by Friday. Then stop talking. Silence forces them to reveal their next move. And that next move is the doorway into third. Workplace example. You deliver a project, they take credit in the meeting. You confront them later, they smile. "I mentioned you. Somewhere." Somewhere. A fog machine. If you accept it, you vanish again. Family example. They insult you, then act cheerful 2 hours later, offering food like nothing happened. If you bring it up, they say, "Are you still on that?" As if time deletes cruelty. And when you don't let it fade, they accuse you of holding grudges. That accusation makes you doubt your own memory. If your memory is weak, their story becomes law. This behavior becomes addictive. Every escape from accountability rewards them. They learn no consequences. So the refusals grow until you realize you're negotiating with someone who treats guilt like an enemy. So I'm not telling you to communicate better. I'm telling you to read the system. Because third doesn't just rewrite meaning, it rewrites you. And you won't notice until it's done. Third, they don't just refuse to apologize. They recruit your conscience against you. This is where you start hearing yourself say things like, "Maybe I'm being harsh," or "I don't want drama," or "It's not worth it." And they love that sentence because it means you just paid the price for their behavior. Real example, they insult you, you react, then they go quiet and look wounded. They don't say sorry. They say, "Wow, I guess I'm just a terrible person." That's not accountability. That's a trap. If you comfort them, the conversation dies. If you don't, you look cruel. Either way, they escape responsibility. This mechanism is victim inversion. They flip the roles so fast your brain gets dizzy. They'll add little details to make you doubt yourself. "You're remembering it wrong. I never said that. You always assume the worst." And if you try to prove it, they accuse you of being obsessed, paranoid, controlling. Labels, again, always labels. Here's the viral part. Most people don't realize they're being trained, like an animal. Push the button, get punished. Speak up, get guilt. Stay silent, get peace. So you start choosing silence and calling it maturity. But it's not maturity, it's conditioning. So do this. Don't defend your tone. Don't chase their tears. Stay on the action. I'm not discussing whether I'm mean. I'm discussing what you did. Then watch their face. If they can't stay on the action, you're not dealing with a misunderstanding. You're dealing with a strategy. Work example. They mess up, you fix it. You ask for an admission. They sigh. "Why are you making me feel bad?" You're babysitting emotions and carrying the workload. Relationship example. They flirt, you confront, they whisper, "I thought you trusted me." And suddenly, you're apologizing for noticing disrespect. Facts are chains. Hold the chain. Because the moment you stop rescuing them, you'll see what they use instead of sorry. Control. Fourth begins. And fourth is where they punish your boundaries. Fourth, they punish boundaries like a crime. The moment you stop rescuing them, the mood changes. Not loud at first, no. It's quieter, colder. They withdraw affection, attention, cooperation. They become busy. They forget to reply. They accidentally leave you out, and if you mention it, they tilt their head like you're ridiculous. This is the fourth mechanism, retaliation by absence. Because an apology would restore balance, a punishment restores hierarchy. Real example. You say, calmly, "Don't speak to me like that." Just that, simple, respect. And suddenly you get silence for 2 days, or a cold stare across the room. Or they start being warm to everyone except you, so you look like the unstable one. You ask what's wrong, and they answer with poison-soft words. "Nothing. I'm fine. You're imagining things." That's the point. They want your boundary to feel expensive. So next time, you hesitate. That hesitation is the leash. Sometimes they escalate with good behavior, like a reward. Oh, look, you stopped bringing it up. Now I'm sweet again." That's not peace. That's training. Workplace version. You correct them in private, politely. Next week, your name doesn't make it onto the email. You're not invited to the meeting. You're slowly erased, then told you're not a team player for noticing. Family version. You refuse disrespect, and suddenly you're labeled difficult, while they play the calm victim in front of everyone. You feel the room shift, and you start thinking twice before speaking. And when you finally demand a real apology, they'll act like you're asking for a crown. Why can't you just move on? We talked about this already. I said I didn't mean it. Notice, we talked, but only you bled. Here's the detail that exposes them. If they truly cared about you, your boundary would make them safer to be around. If they need dominance, your boundary makes them angry. So don't beg for warmth. Don't chase closure. Just observe the punishment, name it privately, and keep your spine. Because fifth is where they stop punishing in silence and start rewriting history in public. Little jokes, little stories, tiny comments that make you sound unstable. And once the room believes them, the apology becomes impossible. Fifth, they don't just avoid apologizing. They build a courtroom where you're always on trial. This is the fifth mechanism, public narrative control. They start joking about you in front of others. "Oh, don't mind them, they get sensitive. Watch what you say, they'll turn it into drama." It's small, playful, harmless looking, but it poisons the well. Because when you finally confront the disrespect, the room already has a label for you, and labels beat facts. Real example. You tell them privately, "That comment hurt." Next day, in front of friends, they smile and say, "See, I told you, always offended." Now you have two battles, the original harm and the audience they recruited. And here's the twisted part. If you defend yourself, you prove their story. If you stay quiet, they keep writing it. So you must learn the difference between a mistake and a campaign. A mistake is followed by repair. A campaign is followed by repetition. Watch how they handle witnesses. If someone else notices, they'll charm them. If charm fails, they'll smear them too. And they'll say things like, "I'm just honest. I don't do fake apologies. I'd rather be real than say sorry." Translation, I'd rather keep control than keep you. They use principles as armor, but principles don't require you to hurt people and call it truth. If you're with someone like this, you'll feel yourself shrinking. You'll rehearse conversations before speaking. You'll censor emotions to avoid being mocked. That's not love. That's a stage, and you're the punchline. So here's the move. Don't argue the joke. Expose the pattern. Calmly say, "You keep framing me as too sensitive whenever I ask for respect." Then stop. Let the silence do the work. Because when the mask slips, you'll see sixth. And listen, the goal isn't to win an argument. It's to keep your reality intact. Scenario: you're at dinner, they snap at you. Later you say, "That was disrespectful." They laugh and tell everyone they're doing their little lecture again. Or in a group chat, they ignore you, then reply with, "Relax, boss," as if you're controlling for expecting basic respect. Every time they do it, they're teaching people how to treat you. So keep a quiet list. Mocking plus audience plus no repair. And that's when they panic. Because they don't fear your anger. They fear your absence. Sixth, when the story stops working, they switch from image control to pressure. Not always screaming. Sometimes it's softer than that. A look, a sigh, a disappointed tone that makes you feel like a child who failed a test you never agreed to take. This is the sixth mechanism, emotional taxation. They make accountability feel exhausting, expensive, too much. Real example, you bring up something simple. "Don't talk to me like that." They don't say sorry, they say, "Are we really doing this again?" And suddenly your boundary isn't a boundary, it's an argument. Your respect isn't respect, it's drama. Your memory isn't memory, it's obsession. So you start choosing the path of least resistance. You swallow it, you go quiet. You tell yourself you're being mature, but what you're really doing is paying their debt with your peace. And if you don't pay, they escalate the cost. They raise their voice just enough to intimidate, then immediately calm down so you look like the unstable one. They slam a door, then smile. They say something cruel, then act confused when you react. That's not emotion, that's training. Workplace example. You ask for credit. They scoff. It's not that deep. Then they exclude you from the next project because you're difficult. Translation, you tried to be equal. Relationship example. You ask for honesty. They roll their eyes. "I can't breathe around you." Then they punish you with distance until you apologize for asking. And here's the detail that exposes it. Watch how quickly they calm down after you surrender. It's like flipping a switch. Suddenly they're sweet. Suddenly they're reasonable. Suddenly they're fine. Because they weren't losing control of emotions. They were using them. Now, not everyone who avoids apologizing is a monster. Some people are clumsy. Some are ashamed. Some were taught the wrong tools. But listen. A clumsy person tries to repair when you show them the harm. A controlling person tries to punish you for noticing it. So here's your test for sixth. State the boundary once, calmly. Then watch whether they move toward repair or toward pressure. If they pressure, if they make you feel guilty for asking for decency, if your calm turns into their attack, you're not in a conversation, you're in a system. And seventh is where they stop trying to win the argument and start trying to win access to you. Access to your time, your attention, your nervous system. And once they get that, you'll understand why the word sorry was never the point. Seventh, they replace apology with access. Because if they can't control the truth, they control your attention. They pull you in, push you away, then pull you back until your nervous system is trained to chase them instead of question them. This is the seventh mechanism, intermittent reinforcement, and it's disgusting how well it works. Real example, after they hurt you, they go cold. No apology, no repair, just distance. You start overthinking, you start replaying, you start searching for what you did wrong. Then, suddenly, they send a sweet message. Hey, miss you. Don't be mad. You know I care. Not an apology, a hook. Because warmth without accountability keeps you attached, while they stay untouchable. In relationships, it looks like this. They disrespect you, you speak up. They punish you with silence. Then they return with affection, like nothing happened. Maybe a gift, maybe a joke, maybe intimacy. And your brain goes, finally, peace. But peace becomes something you earn by tolerating disrespect. Work version. They dismiss your concerns, take credit, talk over you. Then later they compliment you in public. Oh, they're great, so talented. That compliment is not respect. It's a leash. It buys your silence. It makes you feel guilty for confronting them next time because they're not all bad. This is why people who never apologize can keep smart, strong people trapped. Because the trap isn't logic, it's chemistry, dopamine, relief, hope. They create a cycle where you confuse relief with love and attention with repair. And if you try to leave the cycle, they don't suddenly become accountable, no, they become dramatic. They start calling. They start promising. They start saying the exact words you begged for months ago. I'll change. I didn't realize. I can't lose you. But notice, still no clean apology. Still no ownership. Just panic. Because your absence threatens their control. A real apology is simple. I did it. It was wrong. I understand the impact. I will change the behavior. If you never hear those four pieces, what you're hearing is not remorse, it's negotiation. So here's how you protect yourself in seventh. Stop responding to mood, respond to pattern. When they return with sweetness, don't melt, don't explode either, just anchor reality. Are you taking responsibility for what happened? What will be different next time? Say it clearly. If they dodge, if they joke, if they get offended, good, because you're about to see the truth. And this is where the most manipulative line appears, the line that makes people fold instantly. They'll say, "Why are you trying to change me?" Eighth begins there, and eighth is where they turn your standards into control and their disrespect into freedom. Stay with me, because when you understand eighth, you'll stop begging for apologies and start recognizing who never deserved your access in the first place. Eighth, they turn your standards into control and their disrespect into freedom. This is the eighth mechanism, moral inversion. They don't argue the harm anymore. They argue your right to be harmed. Real example. You say, don't flirt with other people in front of me. Normal, basic. They don't apologize. They smile and say, I'm just being friendly. You're insecure. I can't be myself around you. Stop trying to control me. And now suddenly, loyalty is controlling. Respect is jealousy. Boundaries are toxicity. That's the inversion. They flip the moral labels so your self-respect looks like violence and their behavior looks like individuality. Workplace version. You ask for clarity, credit, or accountability. They respond, you're micromanaging. You're not a team player. You're too intense. Again, labels. Always labels. Because if you're busy defending your identity, you won't demand an apology. Here's the real reason they use freedom as a weapon. Freedom sounds noble. It sounds mature. It sounds modern. So when they hide behind it, you hesitate to challenge them because you don't want to be the villain who limits someone. But freedom without responsibility is not freedom. It's entitlement. And watch what happens if you calmly say, no, that's not control, that's a boundary. Their face changes. Sometimes they get offended. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they get cold. Because you just removed their favorite disguise. Now, human mistake, listen. Because people fall for this one all the time. They think, if I explain better, they'll understand. No. A person who wants repair doesn't need a perfect speech. They need honesty. If they keep calling your standards control, it means your standards threaten their access. So do this test in eighth. Ask for one specific commitment, not feelings, not promises, a behavior. Next time, will you do X or not? Yes or no? If they answer with philosophy, if they answer with jokes, if they answer with anger, that's your answer. Because a simple request triggers panic only when the intention was never respect. Relationship example. If you hurt me, will you apologize clearly and change the behavior? They reply, why are you making everything a big deal? That dodge is not confusion, it's refusal. And here's the dangerous part of eighth. It makes you feel guilty for having standards at all. It trains you to lower them, then calls you easygoing for accepting disrespect. So don't chase the label. Don't fight the word control. Just hold the boundary and watch the reaction. Because ninth is when they offer a fake apology, not to repair you, but to reset the cycle. And if you don't recognize ninth, you'll think the story finally ends when it's just beginning. Ninth, they offer a fake apology, not to repair you, to reset the cycle. This is the ninth mechanism, transactional remorse. It sounds like an apology, but it's hollow. It has no spine, no ownership, no change. They'll say, I already said sorry. Okay, fine, I'm sorry. Happy now? Can we just move on? I didn't mean it. Notice what's missing? The action, the impact, the responsibility, the commitment. A real apology has structure. I did X. It was wrong. It hurt you in Y way. I will do Z differently. A fake apology has one goal: make you stop talking. Real example. They explode on you, insult you, then later send a message. Sorry about earlier. No details, no ownership, just fog. You ask, sorry for what exactly? And suddenly they get irritated. Why are you dragging it? I said sorry, what more do you want? That anger is the giveaway. Because if they were truly remorseful, clarity would be easy. But clarity is dangerous to them, because clarity creates accountability, and accountability creates consequences. Here's another fake apology style, my favorite. They apologize while blaming you. I'm sorry I snapped, but you pushed me. I'm sorry you got upset, but you misunderstood. That's not remorse. That's a contract. I'll give you 2 words if you accept the guilt. Now, small humans slip. Listen. Sometimes good people do this once when they're embarrassed. They correct themselves when you point it out. But the ones we're talking about, they repeat it. Because the fake apology is a tool, a reset button. It returns access to them without changing anything. And watch what happens right after the fake apology. They'll suddenly act warm. They'll joke. They'll touch your shoulder. They'll say, we're good. If you accept it, the case is closed. If you don't, you become unforgiving. So here's your test for 9th. After their apology, ask for one specific change. Not emotional speeches, one behavior. Next time, will you stop doing X? Yes or no? If they dodge, if they laugh, if they get offended, if they say, you're controlling again, then the apology was never real. It was a bribe. And this is where people lose years of their life, because they think the words mean something. Words are cheap. Patterns are expensive. Now, 10th is the final piece. 10th is what you do when you finally accept they may never apologize. And if you hear 10th, you'll stop begging for closure and start building an exit that feels like peace. Stay with me. 10th. You stop asking for an apology from someone who uses guilt as a weapon, and you start protecting your reality like it's sacred. This is the 10th mechanism, well, the 10th response. Detachment with precision. Because if they may never apologize, then waiting for remorse becomes a prison. And you can't build a life inside a prison hoping the guard becomes kind. So here's what you do, quietly, cleanly. First, you stop debating feelings with someone who debates facts. You reduce conversations to specifics. Did you do X? Yes or no? If they dodge, you don't chase, you document. Mentally or literally, dates, patterns, phrases, because clarity is your oxygen. Second, you stop rewarding the cycle. No more melting when they come back sweet. No more surrendering when they go cold. You respond to accountability, not mood. Warmth without ownership gets nothing. Pressure gets nothing. Mockery gets nothing. Only repair gets access. Third, you set a boundary with consequences, not threats, consequences. If you speak to me like that again, the conversation ends. If you smear me again, I will leave the room. If you repeat this pattern, I will step back. And then, this is the hard part, you actually do it. Because boundaries without action are just poetry. Fourth, you stop trying to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding you. That's where people break. They write essays, they plead, they explain, they cry, and the other person just watches because your effort feeds their power. Fifth, you choose distance based on pattern, not potential. Not what they could be, not who they were on a good day, but who they are when accountability arrives. Because that version is the real one. Now, tiny human slip. Some of you are thinking, but what if I'm wrong? Good. That question proves you have a conscience. Here's the difference. A person with a conscience asks, what did I do? A person without one asks, how do I avoid losing rank? So if you keep asking for mutual repair and all you get is deflection, punishment, mockery, and fake apologies, then the closure you want will never come from their mouth. It comes from your decision. And that decision is the most dangerous thing to someone who never apologizes, because they don't fear your anger. They fear your clarity. They fear the moment you stop arguing and start acting. So stay to the end of this video, because the final minute is where I'll give you the exact sentences, short, clean, lethal, that expose the pattern without starting a war. And once you say them, you'll see who's capable of repair and who only wants dominance. And detachment doesn't mean you become cold. It means you stop offering your heart as evidence in a courtroom that was designed to convict you. Because people who never apologize don't just avoid guilt, they outsource it to you. They make you carry it like a backpack full of stones, then call you heavy for struggling. So in the 10th response, you do one more thing, something most people are too emotional to do. You stop arguing and you start measuring. How many times did this happen? How many times did they repair? How many times did they flip it on you? How many times did they punish your boundary? If the numbers don't change, the future won't either. And when you finally speak, you keep it surgical. No speeches, no pleading, no autobiography, just one sentence that forces reality into the room. Like this. When I tell you you hurt me, you don't take responsibility, you attack me. I won't stay in that pattern. Or, I'm not asking you to agree with my feelings. I'm asking you to own your behavior. And if they respond with labels, dramatic, insecure, controlling, you don't fight the label, you repeat the boundary. Name-calling isn't accountability. Answer the question. This is where they usually reveal everything. If they care, they slow down. They get uncomfortable, yes, but they try. If they need dominance, they escalate. They mock, they punish, they run the old program. And that's when you do the cleanest move of all. You exit the conversation without rage. Because leaving calmly is terrifying to someone who survives on emotional chaos. So you end it like this. We'll talk when you're ready to take responsibility. And you stop. No debate, no second chances in the same moment, no chasing. Now, if you're dealing with someone you can't fully cut off, family, work, shared obligations, then you don't fix them. You manage exposure. Short conversations, written agreements, witnesses when needed, boundaries you can enforce. Because the goal is not to win their apology, it's to stop bleeding. And the most viral truth? People who never apologize often apologize once, right before you leave, just to keep the door open. That's not growth, that's a hook. So if you hear a sudden sorry after months of deflection, don't listen to the word. Watch the pattern that follows the word. Patterns don't lie. So here's what I want you to do right now. Take everything you just understood and replay the last minute in your head, slowly. Because this isn't only psychology. This is a survival manual. If someone never apologizes, it's not a missing word, it's a missing ability. And now you can see it. The shame redirect, the redefinition, the victim inversion, the punishment by absence, the public narrative control, the emotional taxation, the access trap, the moral inversion, and the fake apology reset. And the final truth? When a person refuses accountability long enough, they start believing they're untouchable. But the second you stop chasing, stop begging, stop explaining, the hierarchy collapses because their power was never real. It was borrowed from your patience. So don't give it back. Not for warmth, not for memories, not for fear, not for loneliness. If this hit you, if you felt your stomach tighten because you recognized someone, then you already know what you need to do next. And here's the part you're gonna love. Tomorrow. I want you to wait for me. I'm dropping the next video tomorrow, and I don't want you to come there empty. I want you to comment, like a maniac, what title you want me to use for tomorrow's video. The darkest one, the most personal one, the one you're afraid to even say out loud. Because I read them, and the most brutal title wins. Now, do not forget the like. Do not forget to subscribe. And if you're still watching right now, you're not weak. You're awake. Now you know.